Sometimes people will ask me for that magic wand or that magic fairy dust that makes challenging behaviors go away. We like to laugh about that and say there is no such thing. However, if there is something like that, routines to the third power is that thing. This is the thing that has a significant impact on reducing all challenging behaviors. So let's talk about a routine. If you look up routine in the dictionary, if you Google the word routine, it is defined as a detailed course of action. It is predictable. It is sequential. The reason we have routines is to promote independence. We all have routines. You have a morning routine. There is a way you wake up in the morning and a certain order of things that happen in your day. In fact, you have routines throughout your entire day. Think about your morning routine. Think about what happens when you are not able to follow your morning routine for whatever reason. You wake up late, you slept through your alarm, there's no coffee. I know that's crazy. That would never happen in my household. But think about that daily routine and how important that routine is for you. Think about what happens when that routine gets violated and things don't happen the way we expect them to happen. With routines to the third power, we need to make sure as we develop these routines that not only we understand the routine, but in our classroom, every child, every person, every adult in our classroom needs to also understand the routine. So think about some basic routines that you have. Maybe you are going grocery shopping. Most of us, when we go grocery shopping, have some kind of a list. We use that list to tell us, here's what I'm supposed to be doing. These are the things I'm getting at the store. As you get your things from the store, you somehow cross it off your list. Maybe you have a fancy app that makes it disappear. Maybe you have a pen and paper and you cross it off. This helps us to answer our 4 questions within that routine of grocery shopping. We mark everything off our list. That's how we know we're making progress. How do we know when we're finished? Everything is off the list. What do we do next? We go to the cash register to pay for our groceries. So we have these routines in everything that we do. Imagine that you get to that cash register and there's one person ahead of you that has 5 items, so you know how fast this line's going to go, and that cashier happens to know the person in line. They went to high school together, they start talking, you end up waiting in line for 10 minutes. Think about how you're feeling and the kinds of challenging behaviors that you exhibit in that moment. Now, take that idea and apply that to our early childhood classrooms. When children are at circle time, if they cannot answer those 4 questions, they also start exhibiting challenging behaviors. They can't tell when this is going to end. They look for ways to escape, ways to disrupt the circle, ways to make it end. So routines to the third power is something we do for ourselves. This is my challenge. Let's look at our routines within our preschool, within our schedule, and let's work them out to the third power. So, routine, the very first routine is your daily schedule. It is a list of what you do throughout your day. It may look like arrival time, and then maybe you have breakfast. Maybe you go to circle next. It's a list of the events that happen in your day. That's your routine to the first power. Now, to go to your routine to the second power, we're going to look at each one of those events in your daily schedule, and we're going to talk about what happens during that event. Let's say your first event is your arrival time. Routines to the second power, we would say, what are the activities that you do during arrival? Many programs that I work in, they start out with children going to their cubbies, maybe hanging up a backpack, hanging up their coats if they have coats that day. The second activity is hand washing. Children go from the cubbies to wash their hands. The third event might be some kind of table time activities. Children come back to the tables, engage in table time activities. The fourth activity in this event of arrival is cleanup. We clean up and then we're going to transition to breakfast. So that is a routine to the second power. Now, the final step in this routines to the third power is that third power. What we do here is we take each one of those activities, hanging up your backpack, washing hands, going to table time activities, and cleaning up, and we break those out into their steps. So it's almost like a task analysis. So hanging up your backpack, what are the steps in hanging up your backpack? Maybe children come in on the bus. So there's a transition from the bus to the cubbies. Maybe we're meeting parents at the door. Some programs we don't have parents coming in. We meet parents at the door. Other programs, maybe parents bring their children into the cubbies. These are the steps. Children come to the cubbies. They might take out a folder or a snack and put it in the appropriate basket, hang up their backpack, and then they go to wash hands. So routines to the third power breaks that down into the actual steps. Now, why is that so important? Why do I say that's the magic fairy dust, the magic wand? For this reason. Once we get our routines defined to the third power, that is where all our intentionality comes in. This is where we do our embedded teaching. This is where we do our individualization. This is where we problem solve. So maybe what we know is that when Johnny comes into the classroom, he has a very hard time leaving his mother. So we can now begin to plug in some strategies to that routine to the third power to help Johnny transition into the classroom. We may also use that to embed some intentional learning. Maybe we want to work on peer interactions and children getting to know each other, getting to know each other's names. We can say when a child comes in and hangs up their backpack, we want them to greet one peer. Now we've embedded a social opportunity into that arrival time. We may say we're teaching how to follow a one-step direction. We can give a direction of next, you go wash hands. When we get our routines to the third power, that's when we get to a place where what we're doing in our classroom is very intentional. It's planned, it's systematic. We hit everybody's learning objectives, and we do it with such intentionality that it has the potential to reduce most challenging behaviors in a classroom.